Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Erin, I'm Queen Bee Tarot, and I've got your week ahead horoscopes. We're looking at a new moon in Taurus early in the week, and the sun forms a helpful sextile to Saturn, helping us lock in personal achievements like wisdom, clarity, and a sense of moving forwards with purpose and direction. So it's a beautiful chill energy, especially following up Aries season. It's really nice to kind of have this grounding, earthy experience being in Taurus season. And what we get to experience this week is proof of concept. Now, what do I mean by proof of concept? Actually, I totally grabbed that term from a guy named Charlie who does videos on YouTube about stock trading. I have dabbled in stock trading, and that was one of his key phrases, proof of concept. So proof of concept is looking for proof that something is actually coming through. You want to see a business, for example, show proof of concept before you invest in them, right? When we make personal investments, if we invest in a relationship, a friendship, a partnership, maybe it's a business, throughout our lives, the way that we use our attention and our energy, it's basically an investment. And what we're really having our attention brought towards this week is any ways in which we have invested our time, our energy, our love, our expertise, and kind of making some really serious, clear-headed decisions based on whether or not we see proof of concept. Are we seeing any kind of tangible result that would encourage us to keep going? Now, not all results, not all proof of concept on a personal level is going to be physical and tangible. So for example, I didn't really think anything much of meditation. I was like, yeah, people told me it was great and all, but I just kind of brushed it off. I didn't experience proof of concept until I had meditated only like 20 minutes a day, but for a solid week. And the proof that I experienced was I was so much more calm. I was so much more grounded and centered in my body. I could think clearly. And when I got stressed out, my mind immediately went to, oh man, wasn't it nice when I was feeling so zen? So that's what I mean. Like, not all proof is going to be something that you can see or touch or feel. But this week, I would strongly encourage you to engage all of your senses. With the sun and the moon in Taurus, having a new moon this week on Tuesday, what's really cool is that the new moon is occurring in the exact same spot that we had a really special once in 13 years conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus on April 20th. And throughout April, Mercury was going retrograde, this massive conjunction happened, and all these eclipses happened. So lots of dust getting stirred up, lots of changes happening in our lives. And the astrological message last week was change is guaranteed. Change is the only constant in the universe. We have to pretty much expect it, right? Having all this energy in Taurus now, especially in the spot that the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction happened, what we're seeing now is proof of concept as far as anything that you really locked into over the past month and a half. So the eclipses had a way of stirring things up. Mercury retrograde had a way of having us go back over and think, is this really what I want to be doing? Is this my favorite version of myself? Do I want to continue investing my energy, my time, my life into whatever it is that's happening for me? Lots of really deep questions, right? And so change has been happening. What we're seeing this week is the results of any decisions that we made. Anything that came up for us and we were like, okay, yeah, I want to work on that, or okay, I really want to tackle this or approach this or acknowledge this even. This week we get to see proof. This week is where we'll start to be like, okay, I'm actually feeling way better because I started to make healthy choices, or because I started to meditate, or maybe you're personally noticing that you're feeling better because you made some decisions around relationships, either to work harder within one or maybe to walk away from one. So even if you haven't necessarily locked into any decision or idea of what you want to do, this week is a wonderful opportunity to get clear if you haven't gotten clear already. So the sun is in Taurus. And for it's for a whole month. It's till the end of May, the 23rd of May. And when the moon and the sun are in the exact same spot, the sun represents kind of like our outer character, and the moon represents how we feel on the inside. So to have the two in the same spot means that we kind of experience a sense of personal alignment. My outsides match my insides, my actions match my words. If stuff is coming up for you that you are committing to things that you don't want to, or if you're in a relationship that doesn't feel fun, it feels like work, you're going to start questioning whether or not you want to stay committed, stay invested. And this week is going to be awesome because it's going to be way more easy to think clearly about who you are, what you want, and where you want to end up. It hasn't been very easy to think clearly recently. In fact, for about 2 months, it's been profoundly difficult to think clearly. There's been so much happening. The energy has been really tense and electric. So this is going to be a welcome relief to be able to think clearly and to be able to come up with some solid, concrete plans. So this week, there isn't really much happening other than the new moon and the sun sextile Saturn. But the undercurrent, the background energy right now is Pluto being retrograde. So instead of having everything kind of happening outside of you with interactions or whatever's happening in the world, moving forwards for the next couple of weeks, what's going to be the most apparent in your life is your own internal process. How do I feel about what's happening? And with Pluto retrograde, you might be rethinking any ways in which you are tolerating discomfort, any ways in which you are not walking your highest path, any ways in which you are either having to deal with an external enemy or realizing that you are your own worst enemy. Both are equally challenging, right? So I'm going to jump right into the individual horoscopes, and what we're looking at is this new moon in Taurus that's activating the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction spot. So awesome opportunity to either lock into new change or recognize that change is happening and feel like, okay, I finally see proof, or I finally have a sense that this is worth it. And then the sun sextile Saturn, Saturn is what represents what we take seriously and where we're looking for proof. Mercury is conjunct Chiron right now, which means that our headspace is really focused on how can I be better? How can I feel better? How can I do better? We don't always have these opportunities. Lots of times our pain, our struggles, everything that we're dealing with, lots of times it feels so overwhelming that we totally can't think clearly. So not only are we able to see and think clearly, we're focused on healing and we're willing to go deep. Pluto retrograde is an opportunity to go deep within, especially if we find ourselves being like, well, I'm mad because of this person, or blah, 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 blah. It's so easy to direct all of our attention and focus outwards. But with Pluto retrograde over the next couple of months, the most profound realizations and the best progress that you're going to make is going to be internal. And thinking about not necessarily like, okay, yeah, this situation sucks or that person's driving you crazy. Yes, those things are valid, but you could also choose to remove yourself. And what might come up for you is themes of either a valid or projected victim mentality. I asked my cards before I got started, like, what should I cover? And that was one of the biggest things. And it was really interesting because I pulled this card as well in one of my morning videos. The Eight of Swords is all about feeling stuck in a mental prison. But a lot of how we end up stuck is because of the stories that we tell ourselves. Maybe we're stuck in a dead-end career, but we don't end up going for something different because we tell ourselves, I would suck at the different thing, or I don't have enough time to learn a new thing, or you know what I mean? Like, we can tell ourselves stories that make us stuck. It's only, a percentage of the occasion that we're genuinely stuck. Lots of times it's just our attitude that's stuck. It was a quote from, oh gosh, the pirate movie Pirates of the Caribbean. the problem is not the problem is your attitude about the problem. I think I said that last week, and that's definitely continuing. Like I said, everybody's situation is different. Sometimes people are genuinely stuck. Sometimes people genuinely are a victim. But if you have those feelings come up, I strongly encourage that you take a really humble look and ask yourself, am I really stuck? Do I kind of enjoy playing the victim here, right? So just things to keep in mind, right? But lots of inner thoughts, lots of inner work. It's a great time for emotional self-analysis, and it's a great time to either go to therapy, start therapy, or really, really, really kind of work on those things on your own. So, okay, Aries, sun and rising. The new moon in Taurus this week is activating your second house, bringing a fresh start to your value system, but also what it is that you're manifesting in your life. And with this new moon, it's almost kind of like the culmination of a whole lot of mental work, where a lot of things were just conceptual, a lot of things were just dreams or ideas, or you had a sense, okay, I won't see the, deferred gratification, that's the word. Like, you're not going to see the result right away, but you had to put the time in. This new moon in Taurus is an opportunity to start seeing the results. With the sun and the moon starting to move through some of your, the parts of your chart that represent physical, tangible results, a sense that you're actually getting somewhere. That's going to be a really cool welcome relief, especially if you've been feeling like you've been adrift at sea, waiting for results, waiting for progress. This is going to be awesome because this is a time of really kind of starting to see some things come through. Now, what you're taking seriously is your dreams. What you're taking seriously is any ways in which you haven't achieved what you wanted to, or maybe you feel like something you want is elusive or hidden or a mystery, and you keep trying to take your life or your direction seriously, but there's also this sense of fog for you where you're like, okay, I feel discomfort, but I don't know what to fix. I'm not necessarily happy here, but I don't know where else to go. And so that brain fog that you've been dealing with, this week is a wonderful opportunity to have these moments of clarity or moments of realization where you're like, oh, I know what to do now. And sometimes it's not until we hear somebody else say it, or we read it, or we see it visually, that we're like, oh, now I know what I want, or you know what I mean? So keep your eyes and ears open. Keep your schedule open as well. If you have any opportunities to do something different out of the norm, you want to gather as much information as possible. You want to cover as much ground as possible to be able to solve whatever metaphorical mystery you've been working on lately. Now, with Mercury conjunct Chiron in your first house, you may have moments of being like, I am so flawed, and other moments of being like, wow, I've made so much progress. And then 5 minutes later, oh my God, I'm still so very flawed. And that kind of rubber band effect, it's totally normal. Healing is never a straight line. We often make progress and then we kind of circle back, and then we make a little bit more progress and then we circle back a little bit, and eventually we make progress. But when you have to circle back, don't be hard on yourself. Sometimes we just got to take a break. Sometimes we just got to slow down. Sometimes we have to kind of reassess what is most important to me. What makes life worth living? It's not so much like I clock in and I clock out and I get a paycheck. It's about really wanting to make the most out of your time, wanting to enjoy that which it is that you do. And especially if you have to do a lot of like adulting in your life, you need to be able to balance it out with like fun play stuff. Your sign in particular, sun or rising, really needs ample time to play, to be physical, to be silly, to be goofy, to let off the steam. So if you haven't had many moments like that, definitely put time in your schedule to be silly on some level, whatever makes you giggle, whatever makes you feel like a kid again. And as you reclaim your power, as you kind of recalibrate your direction, the biggest piece of advice I have for you is remember to see yourself in a different light. You're not the same person that you used to be. You might dress the same, you might act the same, but there's so much that changes within you and outside of you on a day-to-day basis. Be willing to see yourself as differently in order to really make the most of the new opportunities that are coming your way, or ways in which you can kind of expand the reality that you already have to just make it a little bit sweeter and a little bit more fun. Whether it's decorating, you know, even if you have to be stuck in a cubicle, if you could decorate it, if you could have a little bit of quiet music playing or something like that. There's always these different little ways that we can add a little bit of glitter, even if we have to do a whole lot of adulting. So as much as you can, if you need to, rest, eat lots of food, drink lots of water, be really, really gentle with your body so that you have the energy that you need to, especially if you've been stuck up here a lot lately. Bring it back down to the ground. Go touch the grass outside. Go listen to the birds. Engage all of your senses if you've gotten too stuck up here. And this is a great week to rejuvenate and recharge your batteries and start feeling really good about the direction you're going in. So I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you for being here. Make sure to like and subscribe so you're kept up to date, and I will see you in my next video. Taurus, sun and rising. Happy birthday, you guys. Birthday babies. The new moon in your sign this week is totally going to be a moment, even if your birthday isn't necessarily right around the next couple of days, it could be anywhere in the sign of Taurus, you're still going to experience kind of like a personal feeling like it's your birthday this week, feeling like you're having a moment or moments of rebirth, but also how we kind of have those quiet pauses before our birthday. We kind of feel really reflective and we're thinking about the previous year, thinking about how old we are, maybe looking at all the wrinkles. Don't hide your wrinkles. They're proof that you had fun, right? Or they're proof that you survived really annoying stuff. Like my WTF wrinkles are the strongest. I wouldn't have chose them, but you know what? They tell a story. So don't be afraid to tell your own version of your story. Sometimes you have a way of being like, oh, don't worry about it. It's my birthday. That's not a big deal. Maybe make it a big deal if you want to, right? Have some fun. Go out, have a nice time with friends or family. But, you know, with the sun forming a helpful sextile to Saturn, the more that you can get out and receive some validation, some encouragement, some praise, that's really going to help you recharge even more. You've kind of gotten into this period of really, really, really keeping to yourself, or maybe not being very social or not very jazzy lately, right? And you do you, that's fine. But sometimes we get stuck in a rut with those things and we forget that we are worthy of being celebrated. You are worthy of being celebrated. So don't forget that. With Mercury conjunct Chiron in your 12th house, you may still feel as though you haven't quite sorted out whatever's happening in your headspace as far as fears or anxieties or hidden ways in which you struggle. You're really good at being like, I'm fine, right? But if you in fact are not fine, it's okay to say so. And with Pluto retrograde in your 10th house, this week might be a whole lot of not just reflecting on how you feel about the present moment, but reflecting on your entire life journey. So lots of really, really, really deep thoughts for you guys. I mean, this is pretty typical around your birthday to really, and even if you're a Taurus rising, this still applies to you, that you're going to be really, really deep in thought about just kind of the grand scheme of things, how you ended up here. And in times of like, we're not going to be like, oh, yay, I'm glad I had hard times, right? But this could be one of those weeks where you're able to look at the hard times that you've experienced and be able to hold a sense of peace in your heart about it. Even if you're not at peace with it, to find some sort of calm acceptance. That's what I mean about having this kind of long vision back in time. To be able to see the bigger picture, just to be able to see, okay, this happened and this happened, this sucked, but after that, this happened and that was awesome, right? The more that you can kind of put things into perspective, the easier it is for you to recharge and get ready for your next best steps, right? I definitely coming through that you have a little bit of a plan for the future, some dreams and ideas, and it's okay to be shy about not telling everyone your dreams, because if you've got a really special idea and somebody's like, that's stupid, then that could pop your dream and then you might not follow the idea. So it's okay to only share what you feel like sharing, but please do take action on those dreams. The things that you imagine, even in quiet space, that make you go, oh, that would be fun. Do that. Do more of those, okay? Any of the things that light up your smile, any of the things that make you feel glad to be alive, celebrate you, celebrate all that you've been through, and give yourself a pat on the back for sure. Happy birthday again. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Make sure to like and subscribe so you're kept up to date, and I will see you in my next video. Gemini, sun and rising. The new moon in Taurus is happening in your 12th house, and it's a really beautiful, it's like turning on the lights in the attic. Maybe you have really been kind of cleaning out the cobwebs, dealing with the skeletons in the closet, working through some deep psychological stuff, and times of introspection can feel heavy, can feel hard. So this new moon in Taurus is actually a really awesome time to kind of lock into any of the healing and the progress that you've been making. The ways in which you notice things, like for example, noticing when your anxiety kicks up, if you take time to eat something that really engages your senses, you can smell it, you can taste it, and you just sit quietly and you eat the thing. Like sometimes we just have to develop these little tips and tricks to help ourselves through life, right? And so with the new moon in Taurus, it is a focus on your 5 senses. Have you gotten enough sleep? Do you have a safe place to be? Do you have good company? Do you have healthy food and clean water to drink, right? Those are going to be your highest priorities. And because this new moon is happening in your 12th house, what I mean to say, what I'm connecting the dots here with, is you are making the realization that a lot of your deepest psychological issues can either be, what is the word, like helped or, I want to say modified, like the word just went out of my head. When we have lots of like intense psychological stuff, it's 12th house for you. It is so easy to get stuck in your head. And the new moon in Taurus in your 12th house is a reminder that sometimes when we get stuck in our head, the most important thing we need to do is engage the rest of the body. So take a nap, have a hot bath, eat something, you know what I mean? Like drink some water. So any of the ways in which you have figured out little tips and tricks to deal with your psychological challenges, everybody has them, right? And the more you can learn how to support yourself, comfort yourself, right? Re-regulate yourself, right? Any ways in which you find it helps you come back into balance, keep doing those things. With the sun forming a sextile to Saturn, you're kind of looking for proof as far as like, is all this effort worth it? Is everything that I've been through going to make me feel like somehow, some way it was worth it? Am I on a path right now that feels like it's worth it or worth my time? Like you're getting really, really, really serious about long-term plans, especially with finances, especially with if you have a home, if you have any kind of these long-term investments or projects or goals. That's what you're really taking seriously right now. And in the past, maybe you had a lot of anxiety, maybe you had a lot of fear and a lot of doubt, and you wouldn't have applied yourself in the same way that you are now. But the more that you heal what's happening up here, the more that you bring that capability, that potential, that possibility into your waking life, allowing for more opportunities to feel tangible and real. Does that make sense? I know I kind of circled around there. So with Mercury conjunct Chiron in your 11th house, please remember art, music, butterflies, birds. Like the third dimensional reality can really, really, really bring us down. And so as much as you can, keep the magic alive. Keep your search for meaning. Keep everything that you do, random acts of kindness, just being a beautiful being, like sharing your love, your energy, your sparkle. That is what makes life worth living, right? And so that is where a lot of this healing is happening. Maybe you're coming back to music. Maybe you're coming back to art. Maybe you're coming back into a peaceful place where you're ready to give some of yourself to other people. So those are going to be beautiful ways in which to take action based on the healing that you've done so far. And with Pluto retrograde in your 9th house, It is going to be kind of this long-term thing of questioning what you think. Be willing to change your mind, be willing to question your beliefs, be willing to recognize when and where what you think and what you believe is actually what's getting in the way and not what's happening around you or inside of you. Sometimes it is your mind that is your greatest obstacle. So as long as you can leash your mind, it's going to be good. So I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week. If you enjoyed your horoscopes, please make sure to like and subscribe so you're kept up to date with all my videos, and I'll see you next time. Cancer, sun and rising. Cancer, sun and rising, the new moon in Taurus is happening in your 11th house. And lots of times when we go through like really hard stuff, like I know when I'm really stressed out or really depressed, I don't even want to hear music, which is weird because I listen to music all the time and I can't deal with the music being on. You know what I mean? So whatever you've been going through, it has been hard for you to either play or listen to music. It's been hard for you to feel artistic. It's been hard for you to feel creative. You've really just kind of had to come back to center and take care of just the bare minimum, like the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You just haven't had the energetic capability to extend yourself beyond that, right? So the new moon in Taurus this week is is activating your 11th house of all that makes life sparkly and beautiful and worth living. So there is a sense of having either renewed hope or renewed spiritual faith or renewed sense of magic in your life. And, you know, even when we're in a really, really awful place, sometimes even just a song can cause us to just like cry, but then it's out and then it's like this transcendental experience. You need more transcendental experiences. You've definitely been dealing with a lot, right? And so this new moon in Taurus is opening up that possibility, whereas maybe recently you haven't wanted to, now you're going to want to. Now you're going to be like, oh, this feels good. Oh, this is really healing. You know what I mean? Or this is really what I needed right now. And for some of you, it's a matter of going to see a movie with a friend and being surrounded or being transported into another reality. If it's fantasy, comedy, imagination, anything like that. Sometimes we just need a good escape, right? And you don't want to like check out in a way that is unhealthy. You want to be able to be supported in your experience, whether it be grief or healing or simply being stressed out and tired. But yeah, don't underestimate the value of art and music when it comes to healing and when it comes to recalibrating. With Saturn, so the sun is sextile Saturn. Saturn is in your 9th house. Saturn represents what feels serious or what we're taking seriously. And the 9th house is your belief system, as well as learning and possibilities and space for expansion. So when Saturn is in your 9th house, it's a sense that you're being held back. Maybe you feel as though there's no possibilities. Maybe you feel like there's no hope. Maybe you feel like you've hit your limit and you just don't even know what to do about it, right? So it's going to be a challenging influence for the next little bit. But with the sun sextile Saturn, it's going to bring that glimmer of hope. It's like being in your house and it's been like cold and rainy, and all of a sudden a beam of sunshine comes through the window. That's the feeling, right? So any way in which a beam of sunshine comes into your life this week, pause, soak it up, feel it, like savor that moment and let it recharge you. Look for the magic and the sparkles, even if you're crying, even if you're having a hard time. With Mercury conjunct Chiron in your 10th house, there is a sense of having to make peace with things not turning out the way that you wanted them to. It could be a sense that you are healing your concept of what the future should look like. You know, a lot of us, whether you watched Disney movies or whether you read a lot of books as a kid, you know, a lot of us grow up with the sense that things should be fair. Things should turn out okay, right? That there should be a hero or a happy ending or something like that. And when we become adults, it's like WTF every single day, right? The thing that they don't tell you about adulting is that you have to show up every single day, whether you want to or not, right? And that becomes exhausting and tiring. So if that's where you're at right now, This is going to be a beautiful week to feel recharged, to rethink any ways in which, like sometimes, just like with that Disney happy ending thing, you know, sometimes we just have to make peace with like life is not a fairy tale, right? And at first that feeling of like life is not a fairy tale, that can be grief, it can be crushing. But then when we make peace with it, we're like, even if my whole life isn't a fairy tale, there's some birds outside right now that make me feel like I'm in a fairy tale. I'll take that. That's good enough. Good enough for now, right? So if there's anything heavy that you're dealing with and it feels never ending, don't hesitate to put "for now" at the end of it. It actually kind of helps. I'm feeling really depressed for now, but it's not, you know what I mean? And then you kind of give yourself more possibilities, even just with the words that you're using. So consider how and when you maybe limit possibilities with words, how and when you might need to come out of being so cynical, and balance being cynical with fairy tale and find that happy place in between. You know what I mean? Life isn't all bad, but life is definitely not a fairy tale. It's somewhere in the middle. And just remember that the universe is constantly conspiring to shower you with blessings. So look for the magic, even if it makes you feel angry for me to say that. Look for the magic. It is out there, sometimes in the tiniest places, but you just got to look at it right. And when you find the magic, that sunlight coming through your window again, it will help, I promise. Sending you guys the biggest hugs. I hope you have a fantastic week. If you enjoyed your horoscopes, please like and subscribe so you're kept up to date with all my videos, and I'll see you next time. Leo sun and Leo rising. The new moon in Taurus is activating your 10th house. Taurus has a lot to do with whether or not our needs are being met. The 10th house is, are my long-term plans going to meet my needs? Am I headed in the right direction? So there's something about the energy this week that is bringing you hope for whatever direction you're headed in. You may have been worried about finances, resources. You may have been worried about housing. You may have been worried about some of these really important core human needs, right? And so what's awesome about the new moon this week in your 10th house is there's some sort of open door. It could be an exit door from discomfort that you're experiencing right now, or it could be the light at the end of the tunnel. It could be a magical manifestation, but something tangible is going to bring you hope this week, and that is a beautiful thing. With Saturn, the sun in the new moon, it's the sun and the moon being in the same spot, and it's forming a really helpful angle to Saturn, which is in Pisces, and for you, that's your 8th house. So you may be taking either finances or debt or shared responsibilities really seriously right now. And like I said, you know, it could have been quite some time of you being like, I have no idea what to do. I have no idea if I'm going to have the money. I have no idea if this is going to work out, right? And this week is where it's like, oh my God, everything is clicking into place. The money comes through, or the house comes through, or the new job comes through. Something is going to click into place. It's going to feel tangible. It's going to feel real. And you're going to have a moment of being like, oh my God, my needs are met, or my needs are going to be met. So welcome relief this week for sure. It's also going to take effort. It's going to take consistency. It may not be very exciting. It could be something somewhat boring, but as long as it meets your needs, it's a great place to start. And so with Mercury conjunct Chiron in your 9th house, there's a sense of having to kind of reframe what sort of possibilities you're looking for. You might have been in a place of despair and frustration. You might have been in a place of feeling completely aimless, like you didn't know if anything was going to happen or work out, right? And so with Mercury conjunct Chiron in your 9th house, whatever you believe, whatever possibilities you're tapping into, whatever knowledge you are reaching for or information you're acquiring, there is a sense of open door, possibility, and progress with that. So again, it's like maybe you looked for a rental and you couldn't find anything, and it would be like this week, you look again in the same spot and boom, it's there, the perfect place for you, right? Or you lost your keys and you looked in your purse a million times, and then boom, this week, somehow the keys are in your purse, and you know you looked there before. You know what I mean? So that the energy for you guys this week is look again. Even if you feel like you already looked in the same spot, look again. retrace your steps, reconsider those possibilities that you might not have considered before, because sometimes it's our headspace. If we're grumpy, we're not going to have the same open eyes that we would if we are at peace. So as much as you can, especially before making any major decisions, see what you can do to be at peace. And see what you can do to be mindful of the energy exchanges between yourself and other people. You may find that the people around you help you to be at peace, and you may be coming to the realization that the people around you steal your peace and take away from your sanity. And these important realizations are going to bring you back to a place of being like, you shouldn't feel like you're at work all the time. If you feel like you're at work and not having fun in times where you're supposed to be having fun, like at home or in a relationship or in a friendship and stuff like that, those are going to be the moments where you're like, you know, sometimes we convince ourselves that we have to stay. Sometimes we convince ourselves that we need this person or we need this job or whatever. Everything's shifting for you. So as much as you can to be at peace, you're going to see relationships differently. You're going to see possibilities differently. And you're going to be able to grab onto opportunities in a much better way than you have before. So I hope you guys have an amazing week. If you enjoyed your horoscopes, please make sure to like and subscribe so you're kept up to date with all of my videos. And I'll see you next time. Virgo sun and Virgo rising. The new moon in Taurus is activating your 9th house. And because Taurus is another earth sign just like you, you're going to feel totally in the zone. This is an opportunity to learn how to feed your head. Now that's actually a line from Grace Slick from Jefferson Airplane, the Go Ask Alice song. And it's this beautiful like at the end of the song where she sings feed your head. And that's what the mouse said in Alice in Wonderland. Feed your head. The mouse said that at the tea party. Anyway, random story for you, because Taurus represents what you feed and how that becomes a foundation of health and a foundation of success moving forwards. And for the new moon in Taurus to be happening in your 9th house of headspace, it's all about feed your head. If you cannot function up here, you might need to feed your body. I'm equally guilty. I will realize that I've had quite a few coffees. I'm like, oh my God, I'm out of energy. I don't feel very good. Oh, right, I should probably eat something, right? So you have a way, Virgo sun and Virgo rising, you have a way of being very cerebral. You can get really focused on what you're doing and really like, you know, all in on a task or a project. But this week is going to be a reminder that you need to also feed your body. Having healthy habits, drink lots of water, make sure you get adequate sleep, right? Eat healthy food. Don't skimp on those things that are important, because one of your superpowers is your brain. So make sure to feed your head with whatever it needs to be at its best, right? And if your head is not at its best, see what you can do to tap into all the other parts of your energetic system. It could be your heart, it could be your energy, it could be your physical body. But yeah, if you're not at your best up here, see what might be missing. Now, with the new moon and the sun forming a sextile to Saturn in your 7th house, what you're taking seriously is the energy exchanges that you have. And if you are not able to be present with those energy exchanges, it is really important to ask yourself, how can I be more wise about this? How can I potentially prepare myself better so that I am at my best? And also kind of keeping in mind, if you come to the table full of energy and as you interact with someone, you feel like they're just sucking the life out of you, that is also very important to pay attention to. You are going to feel a lot more choosy about where and when you invest your time and your energy. So this week it might have a lot of realizations. It might be realizations about how you need to take better care of yourself. It might be realizations about how you need to be mindful of how your energy interacts with other people's energy, but lots of really important realizations this week for sure. And with Mercury conjunct Chiron in your 8th house, there's also going to be a sense of like seeing repeating patterns, seeing karma, recognizing where and when you're like, oh, deja vu kind of feelings, right? And instead of continuing to make the same mistakes, setting up some sort of system for yourself. Like I ended up having to set up a system where I'm like, okay, if I have a second coffee, I don't go back for a third. I need to have a smoothie. I need to have something to eat. I need to have some water. So whatever systems you can set up in place for yourself so that you can come back to center, make sure that you're feeding your body and your head, you're going to set yourself up for success. Because Pluto is retrograde in your 6th house, you are definitely going to have a lot of time to think about how you can be as healthy as possible. And it's about really kind of putting into practice all of those tiny little things. Take your vitamins, drink the water, actually get a good sleep. Don't stay up super late. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily fun to be so responsible, but sometimes those little tweaks can make life so much more enjoyable. So just find out where and when you might need a little bit of discipline, and when you apply it, you're going to see the benefits almost immediately. So I hope you guys have an amazing week. Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed your horoscopes, please make sure to like and subscribe, and you'll be kept up to date with all my videos. I'll see you next time. Libra sun and Libra rising. The new moon in Taurus is activating your 8th house, and what's really cool is that you Libras and Taurus are like zodiac buddies, because both of your zodiac signs are ruled by Venus. And with the new moon in Taurus, you're going to get almost like this sympathetic effect of feeling as though you are getting a personal refresh. You're going to feel as though your energy levels get either recharged or recalibrated, and you might have some realizations about how to just generally be more energetically aligned with yourself. Sometimes it's like the cart and the horse feeling. Like when we have so many ideas, our brains are like 10 steps ahead, and we have to kind of bring ourselves back a few steps and be like, okay, yes, I want to end up way over there, but I also have to kind of be here now and do this here first before I can be ready to be down the road, right? You may have moments this week of realizing that you have put a cart before the horse. You may have moments of realizing this week that maybe you are repeating a pattern and you'd like to take a step back and not repeat the pattern. Or alternatively, this week could be the week where you realize that you have finally healed some sort of karma, that you have finally put into practice some of these healthy things that keep you at your best. With the new moon and the sun being sextile Saturn in your 6th house, you are taking your day-to-day life more seriously. You're taking your health more seriously. You're taking your habits and your routines more seriously. And you're also being willing to take your mental health more seriously, which is awesome. So all of this focus and this beautiful healing opportunity this week to kind of come back to center and be like, okay, what does my body need right now? What does my heart, what does my mind need right now? And with Mercury conjunct Chiron in your 7th house, you are healing any tendencies in which you used to be like, well, maybe this person will meet my needs. No, babe. You meet your needs. And then you're going to be at your best to share space with another person. So any ways in which you allowed other people to take away from your quality of life, whether it was an energy vampire, whether it was just toxic friends or toxic partners, you've done so much healing that it's not just about removing those people, it's about relearning how to treat yourself. And then when you get through that process of relearning how to treat yourself, then the next step is teaching new friends and new partners and new lovers, this is how I expect to be treated. But it has to be step A, step B, step C, right? If we get rid of the old partners and then we go straight to trying to find a new partner and we haven't figured out how we want to be treated or how we deserve to be treated, we're actually going to end up stuck in a loop. Does that make sense? So make sure that you are following the step-by-steps. Do consider any ways in which you might be putting the cart before the horse, and have fun. The most telling thing about any partnership, any relationship, any choice in our lives is, are you having fun? And if you're not having fun, you know, obviously we can't expect to have fun all the time, but if you're not having fun, you might want to reconsider your direction. If you make a choice, if you make a decision, if you put yourself in a direction and it feels very, very, very not fun, it might not be the right choice or direction for you. So it's all about momentum. It's all about the chariot. It's all about moving forwards and being mindful of steps and processes and things like that. But you got it. Just take things one step at a time, right? And I hope you guys have an amazing week. If you enjoyed my videos, please do like and subscribe. It will keep you up to date for all of my horoscopes. I don't know why I'm losing my words right now. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time. Scorpio sun and Scorpio rising. The new moon in Taurus is activating your 7th house. It is directly across the zodiac wheel from you. Scorpios and Tauruses are opposite. So this new moon is actually bringing a refresh to your personal relationships. There's been a lot happening with your personal relationships over the last 6 months to a year. There's been so much focus, and it's really nice to kind of see the tide turning. Whether you find yourself surrounded by new friends, maybe you have a new partner, maybe you're just feeling really, really good about where you're at and who you're surrounded by. But that's the energy this week. With the new moon in your 7th house, there is a new sense of healthy partnerships. There's a new sense of healthy balance, and there's a new sense of everybody getting their needs met, not just one person, right? So with the sun sextile Saturn this week, there is a sense of feeling in alignment with what you take seriously. And with Saturn moving very slowly through your 5th house, you've been taking seriously the concept of fun, which is a really funny thing. So taking joy seriously, right? I mean, we push ourselves to be like adults all the time, and adulting honestly freaking sucks, right? So as much as you can, taking seriously how important it is to have fun, scheduling fun time with friends, whether it's karaoke or impromptu soccer in the street, or whether you have a solo dance party in your own kitchen, right? The more that you make fun a priority on a day-to-day basis, the more you will feel comfortable being present in your day-to-day life, because there's a sense that you have enough balance as it is, that you're not like, oh my God, I need an escape, right? So this is a beautiful week for feeling like you've made progress. This is a beautiful week for seeing proof of your investment in fun paying off with your mental health. Because with Mercury conjunct Chiron in your 6th house, that's what this is. It's all about, how are you becoming aware that healing is happening? How are you becoming aware of what will help you heal? You know, being aware of where the pain came from in the first place, or being aware of what is causing suffering, that is actually the first step to healing. And sometimes it's actually a challenging step, because we have this vague idea that we're suffering, but sometimes it's really hard to kind of pick apart exactly why. So we all go through these processes where you have to pick apart why. With Mercury retrograde, you know, last couple of months moving through your 6th house, that was the picking apart process. And now this week is a whole bunch of realizations for you of like, hey, I feel better. Hey, I know where I'm going now. I'm really happy that I'm starting to schedule fun and take it seriously. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is for you. Maybe you're coming back to art. Maybe you're coming back to music. Maybe you're coming back to spending more time in your jammies and setting up blanket forts, right? Or like I said, a dance party in your kitchen. With Pluto retrograde in your 4th house, there's definitely an energy of you not being afraid to spend time alone, realizing that you can definitely be your own best friend, and making your emotional and mental health a very high priority. And you are doing such an amazing job, because as you sort out those things, they become a foundation for having like the best life ever, right? And it's not that problems are going to stop happening. It's that you're not going to feel depleted all the time. Because if you take really good care of yourself, if you get tons of time to play or be silly or just recharge, then that means that when stuff in life inevitably happens, you're going to be more mentally, emotionally, and spiritually prepared than you ever have been before. So little tiny signals, little tiny ways of recognizing that you've made progress. Take it all in. Definitely give yourself a huge pat on the back. I hope you have an amazing week. And if you enjoyed your horoscopes, make sure to like and subscribe so you're kept up to date with all my videos, and I will see you next time. Sagittarius sun and Sagittarius rising. The new moon this week in Taurus is activating your 6th house, which is really cool because Taurus has a lot of themes of like food, rest, water, you know, having your physical needs being met. And having that new moon in your 6th house is all about your health. It's mostly like your physical health because it is associated with Virgo, but Virgo is ruled by Mercury, which is also the mental space. So the 6th house can be a really big connection, like a holistic connection between your mental health and your physical health. There's been a lot of scientific studies lately that connect the dots between your gut health and your mental health. So if you have not been feeling mentally healthy, what have you been eating? Right? And if you're not eating very good, you're not going to feel mentally healthy. It's not possible. So do keep in mind where and when you're expecting too much of yourself, where and when you're not really giving your body proper fuel, proper rest. You might find this week that you need naps every day, or you might want to just kind of, you know, call in sick one day so that you can stay at home and recharge. You may feel extra tired, extra sleepy. But whatever you can to nurture that, if you can stay home on one of those days, like at all possible, I know it's not always possible, but if you can carve out time to just like shut out the world and recharge, you could really use it this week for sure. You can say Dr. Aaron prescribed a nap. Yeah, I'm not really a doctor, but I play one on TV. So, the sun and the moon are going to be together in your 6th house, really bringing this focus of new beginnings, new healthy starts for your health, right? And it's forming a helpful sextile to Saturn, which is in your 4th house. So you're taking seriously something that is happening at your home, or something about your emotional health. So for example, if we are emotionally not healthy, if we are really stressed out or just feeling really burnt out, we are more likely to go to unhealthy coping mechanisms like drinking or smoking or things like that, right? And so the focus for you guys this week is not just about making those healthy choices, which is very, very important, but it's also about addressing the root cause. So your 4th house, where Saturn is, means that you need to take seriously the root cause of whatever it is that's happening in your life. It could be something literally within your home. It could be something you're experiencing on an emotional level. It could be your inner child needing some attention or needing some work. But lots of stuff coming up. And as much as you can, if you can carve out quiet space to be able to think about these things, if you can have an appointment with your therapist or talk to a trusted friend, these are really important things for you to work through. And there might be a tendency for you to be like, whatever, I don't want to think about this right now, but you really need to think about this right now. So with Mercury conjunct Chiron in your 5th house, there is a very high likelihood that there are roots to your inner child, or maybe you just don't get to play enough. Maybe there's no fun and no joy in your life. Or maybe you have kids and maybe you're exhausted because you have kids. The 5th house is all about either the children that we have or when we were ourselves a child, how we seek pleasure, how we seek joy and fun, whether or not we get to play at all. So there has been a huge focus on you guys of like wanting to be creative or wanting to feel playful, and maybe you don't feel like there's time, or maybe you don't feel like that's something that you ever really got to develop. So with those themes in mind, any healthy choices, any healthy decisions that you make this week, please make sure it is a holistic approach. And what that means is taking all these different factors into consideration instead of just focusing on one thing. Like for example, focusing on, okay, I want to quit smoking. That's great. But if you don't support yourself, you're going to go back to smoking because you haven't addressed the root causes, right? Right. Okay. I hope you guys have an amazing week. If you enjoyed your horoscope, please make sure to like and subscribe so you're kept up to date with all of my videos. And thank you so much for being here. I will see you next time. Capricorn sun and Capricorn rising. The new moon in Taurus this week is happening in an earth sign just like you. So there's going to be a sense that you're really in the groove, and it's happening in your 5th house of joy, creativity, play. Maybe you'll feel like a kid again. Maybe you'll have really good connections with your kids if you have kids. Very, very, very playful energy. And what's really neat is that the new moon in Taurus is all about new beginnings and healthy starts that address the most important vital human needs: food, water, shelter, safety, rest, right? And you will have an opportunity to kind of come back to center and reclaim any ways in which maybe some of those needs weren't met in childhood, or maybe some of those needs are just not being met now. You're taking seriously the connections that you have, and this could be a week of being like, this friend is way too serious. They're really bumming me out, right? I want to hang out with this friend and let's go do karaoke or something like that, right? Now, obviously, you know, we can't la life's problems away, but if you choose to surround yourself with people who are healthy, positive, keeping themselves active, then that is going to rub off on you, and it's going to have a really healing effect on you. And if you hang out with people who are always like mad and grumpy and they're just like stuck in a loop in their lives, that's also going to rub off on you. So don't ever feel bad about being picky with the company that you keep. It's not, you know, you don't have to be rude to anybody and be like, sorry, I'm not going to hang out with you, you're really grumpy. I mean, if you want to say that, you can, but sometimes we just slowly let go, you know, like if we're ready to move on. So the thing though is that the words that you use may come off as being judgmental. The words that you use may come off as being too serious or too harsh. And that is because Saturn is in your 3rd house of communication. And it is your close friends, your siblings, your family members that are going to be the most likely to get that sharp tongue from you. And just remember, don't dish it if you can't take it. You know, if you say, oh, I don't want to hang out with you because you're so grumpy, then that person might be like, dude, you're like the grumpiest person I've ever met. And it could be one of those like touche kind of moments, right? So again, don't necessarily say everything that comes through your mind, but pay attention to everything that comes through your mind, because you're going to get clues about whether or not you're still having fun yet, right? With Mercury conjunct Chiron in your 4th house, you are having to relearn how to either parent yourself or relearning how to support yourself. We don't always learn healthy coping mechanisms growing up. We don't always have good examples even in our adult lives. You may feel as though you're having to figure these things out from scratch with no guidance, but as much as you can, if you focus on being healthy and being a healthy influence. Focus on being peaceful and being a peaceful influence, right? Focus on meeting your own emotional needs and allowing other people to meet their own emotional needs, not necessarily jumping in all the time and being in somebody's business or rushing in to fix things, right? It may feel weird to kind of take a step back, but that's what you're invited to do this week. Lighten up, ease up on yourself. Yes, pick and choose your company for sure. But remember, when we point one finger outwards, 3 are pointing in. So just keep that in mind, right? Because when we're like, meh, about other people, but there's really, really high potential for you to make some serious progress when it comes to really, really aligning your life, your choices, your ideals, your people with your highest path, right? It's one thing to say that we want to live our ideals. It's a whole nother thing to put it into practice. And this week, you're going to feel really good about putting it into practice. It's going to be easier for you to set boundaries. It's going to be easier for you to make healthy choices. So I hope you have an amazing week. Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed your horoscopes, make sure to like and subscribe so you're kept up to date with all my videos, and I will see you next time. Aquarius sun and Aquarius rising. The new moon in Taurus this week is happening in your 4th house. Now, the 4th house can represent our literal home that we live in, or it can also represent our family roots. And so this new moon in Taurus is going to be bringing to your attention whether or not your home life, present or past, is safe, Is it healthy? Are your needs being met? Do you have fresh water? Do you have healthy food? Are you surrounded by trusted company? Do you feel emotionally safe? I don't know if I said that yet, but it's probably worth saying twice, maybe even 3 times. Do you feel emotionally safe? Really important questions to ask. So the new moon in Taurus is going to be activating all of those themes, and whether it's something you're just like, oh, in the past, or whether it's right here, right now, it's kind of both valid, because the realizations that you have are going to also help you understand how, when, and where maybe you tolerate that which maybe you shouldn't tolerate. For example, if we grew up in households where certain things were normalized, abuse, yelling, people just being distant and not connecting, whatever was normalized for you in your family home is always going to have some sort of echo in the home that you establish as an adult. And even when we try to the best of our abilities, and the reason I said some sort of an echo is because even if you're like, I'm never doing that again, that is an echo. That you're like, I am making choices in this home because I'm not wanting to repeat that, right? Or it could be the other way around. It could be like, oh my God, my grandma, she was so nice. She always made cookies. And so now in my house, I always make cookies, right? Whatever it is, there's always going to be echoes. And so if for some reason you're dealing with something right here, right now, that you feel really uncomfortable with, it's going to help you a lot to go back in time and be like, how was this normalized? When was the first time that I saw this? Am I unconsciously repeating a pattern, even though I was trying so hard not to? Sometimes we accidentally do that, you know? So don't be hard on yourself. Don't run from it. Don't be like, no, not me, right? If you can just validate where you're at, boom, the solution becomes open and clear and apparent. Like that, like lightning. So if the solution is not clear, if the solution is not apparent, go back in time, figure out when was the first time that this started happening, or what is the echo that you're seeing right now. Be honest, be humble, be clear, and boom, the exit door will come available. So this new moon is going to be a very, very internal process. It's going to be thinking, it's going to be feeling, it's going to be sensing, it's going to be contemplating, it's going to be like wanting to be by yourself and kind of figure some heavy stuff out, right? But what's really, really awesome is that Pluto retrograde in your first house is inviting you to clear out the shadows so that you can be the brightest, beautiful being of light that you possibly can be. And just remember, there is no shadow without light, and there's never light without shadow. We can't make the shadow go away, but we can validate it, we can acknowledge it, and boom, that's when we find the key. So I hope you have an amazing week. Be brave, and the solutions will become clear. And when you find the solution, when you find the answer, even if it brings up grief, it's also going to bring up relief, because you're going to be like, oh my God, I figured it out. Let's go. Right? So don't be afraid. It's going to be good. I hope you have an amazing week. Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed your horoscopes, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. And Pisces sun and Pisces rising. The new moon in Taurus is happening in your third house. All of a sudden you're like, hey, I want to hang out with people. Maybe it's the weather is getting nice. Maybe it's just feeling better within yourself, but you're going to be much more inclined to communicate. But because Taurus is a homebody, and because the new moon is happening in your third house of close friends, I don't mean like the kind of thing where like, woo, I want to hit the town. I mean, maybe, but this more indicates that you're going to be like, I want to hang out with my bestie, or I want to call a couple people and just have a quiet little ladies night, or, you know, I want to grab my favorite sparkly sparkles and let's just go sing karaoke. You know, whatever it is for you, you're going to be calling in your favorite people. You're going to be reestablishing those connections in which you feel safe, in which you feel seen and understood. And you're going to be really stoked to share that piece with other people as well, right? It's always reciprocal. The relationships that you're going to want to connect with this week are the ones in which they are reciprocal. Because with Saturn moving through your first house, you're taking who you are quite seriously. You're not as necessarily as outgoing as you used to be. You're going through a period of kind of like really picking and choosing when and where you give away your time and your energy, right? And it might feel kind of weird. It might feel blissful depending on what kind of a person you are. But the more that you realize that you absolutely love your own company, the less you care about hanging out with people. So it's kind of fun. But you are taking who you are seriously. You are definitely inspired to reach out to people, but only the relationships that are reciprocal. And with Mercury conjunct Chiron in your second house, you've kind of hit your limit with any of the relationships that are not reciprocal. Any of the relationships where they feel like work. Any situations in which you feel like people just suck you dry and then walk away, you're over it, right? And you're not a confrontational person. It's very rare that you'll be like, I am leaving this situation. Like pretty much never, right? But if somebody approaches you and asks you, how come we don't hang out anymore? It is better to give them even a small snippet of the truth than to back yourself in a corner and be like, oh, no way, no, that wasn't on purpose. Because then they're going to be like, oh, well, let's hang out. And then you're stuck, right? So if you have quietly created distance in a very non-confrontational way, if the person ever approaches you, give them the decency of telling them why you created that space. Does that make sense? Because you would want that too. So, but what's really important is that as Pluto moves retrograde through your 12th house, you're not going to have any tolerance for BS. You're not going to have any tolerance for unhealed people. So that's why you don't want to back yourself into a corner by not being as honest as you could be. Because you can't go back to those relationships. You can't go back to those energy vampires. You can't go back to pretending that you want to hang out with someone when you can't. You have stripped away so many layers that you are fully authentic, and pretending is not part of your game anymore. So being authentic is occasionally uncomfortable because sometimes uncomfortable truths have to be told. But the sooner you rip off the Band-Aid, the sooner you can move on and know that you're not going to be backed into a tree later, agreeing to hang out with someone that you don't necessarily want to hang out with, right? Okay. So, yeah, it's all about, you know, the golden rule. We always think, do unto others as you would want done unto you, right? Like, don't do stupid shit. Don't be a dick, right? But the other part of it is, I would want honesty. You would want honesty. If you ask somebody like, has space been created? You wouldn't want to be lied to, right? So the golden rule also applies to that. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing week. If you enjoyed your horoscopes, please make sure to like and subscribe so you're kept up to date, and I will see you in my next video.